West Virginia winners 37-7 over BYU Saturday night. This is Between the Ears the morning after BYU, and I'm Schuyler Callihan. You can find our stuff on YouTube at Mountaineers Now and on Twitter at Mountaineers Now as well. What a game. The Mountaineers put together probably the most complete game since Neil Brown has arrived. Offense, defense, special teams. There's obviously some things that need to be cleaned up in all three of those phases, but for the most part, they controlled every bit of this game. And I can't remember the last time the Mountaineers did that against a Power 5 opponent, which is what makes this more promising. You're playing pretty good football into the month of November, and that's when you want to be playing your best football. As the year goes on, deep into the season, you're into the last 4-game stretch here, and you have a chance to do something that you've never done before as a program, and that's to get to the Big 12 championship. Now, of course, there's going to be a lot of things that need to happen in place or over the next couple of weeks in order for you to actually get a chance to go to Dallas. But you can only control what you can control. And over these last 2 weeks, it looks like West Virginia is ready to turn the corner, and it sets up a huge date next Saturday night in Norman against the Oklahoma Sooners. They get past that one. It's looking pretty good for the Mountaineers. So quickly on last night, I briefly discussed it on the Mountaineers Now postgame show, which you can find also here on our channel with Eugene Napoleon. But Garrett Green, man, I mean, 12 of 24, 205 yards, pair of touchdowns. And it was just kind of like a pedestrian day for him. It really wasn't his best performance by any means. He didn't have to run the ball that much. He only ran it 4 times for 23 yards, but he didn't need to do it. So there was no use in doing it. But I think for him to evolve and become one of the better quarterbacks in this league, he's got to hit these easy layup passes that defenses give him. And to me, you could look at the slants and the screens and the passes out of the flat, the swings, as those being the layups. But to me, I'm counting everything. I'm counting everything where a guy's open or has a beat on his guy down the field, whether it's 15, 20 yards down the field. Those things are still areas that trouble Garrett Green. His accuracy, his touch on the ball. He had Cole Taylor, I believe it was in the first half. I think it's what led to their first punt. Cole Taylor had first down yardage. It was past the sticks. It was on second down and just threw it too high. I mean, was wide open, got a couple of steps separation off his man, and would have had 12 yards or so and just hit it too high. They ended up punting on that drive. And there was one earlier in the game to C.J. Donaldson out of the backfield. It was just too high and almost too out in front. He had another situation with C.J. where you could argue it was on C.J. more so than Garrett, but there's just too many of these happening in the passing game for West Virginia. It's got to get cleaned up, because if you're going to have a chance out in Norman next week, this stuff can't happen. Your quarterback can't go 50%. You can get by doing that against BYU, but Oklahoma, you're going to have to score right there with them. I mean, yes, they've lost 2 games in a row, but this is an offense that Dylan Gabriel is in charge of that just can score in a blink of an eye. And even though West Virginia only held BYU to 7 points last night, I wasn't particularly I don't know how to explain it. I don't think it was a factor of West Virginia just playing great defense. I think there were some things out there that you could see, if this happens next week, it might look a little different. BYU was obviously with their backup quarterback in this game. They missed a couple of guys on the offensive line and receiver room. So they were down some pieces. And even having that said, I mean, they were still able to move the ball, and they just couldn't convert a few fourth downs and kind of played behind the chains a couple of times. But again, I just don't think that was not West Virginia's best defensive performance on the season. I don't even think it was a top 3 defense performance. But they found ways to get off the field. So you got to give them credit. The thing that I think has to be talked about, and I'm going to feel like a broken record talking about this because it's fun to watch, is the dominant 1-2 kind of thunder lightning type duo that West Virginia has in that backfield with Jaheim and CJ. Jaheim's surge is going to pay off huge for West Virginia. Like, I don't even think I can state how much that kid is going to just open things up for this offense. I mean, he's averaging, I mean, it seems like a first down every carry. And when you have a kid that can do that and get you yards and be that home run type hitter, that's a backbreaker, especially when you're going up against CJ Donaldson and he's giving you the business in between the tackles over and over and over and over and over again. As soon as you get tired, they throw Jaheim in and bam, there goes a 25-yard pickup by Jaheim White. Jaheim White on the season is now averaging 8.3 yards per carry. And we're getting to this territory now with Jaheim where it's not just skewed by numbers. That's 50 carries on the season. That's starting to become a pretty healthy sample size. And this is against Power 5, Big 12 competition, most of which came against UCF and last night against BYU. If he continues to do what he has done over these past 2 games and these next 3, West Virginia is going to have a damn good shot of going 3-0 in these 3 games. I know Oklahoma, it seems like they're this unbeatable team for West Virginia. I know they beat them last year, but to beat them out there in Norman, it feels like an impossible feat, right? Everyone always points to this game as a loss on the schedule, but the way these 2 teams have played over the last couple of weeks, Oklahoma losing to Kansas, losing to Oklahoma State, those are good teams. But you have to wonder about the psyche of OU right now. I mean, they've went from being a top team in the country that had aspirations to go to the college football playoff to now they're just hoping they can get a little bit of help and get into the Big 12 championship game. So where is this team's psyche after those 2 losses? Is this a team that's going to kind of fold and throw in the towel per se? I don't know if that's exactly what will happen, but I think there's going to be a little bit of doubt that creeps in. For West Virginia, this is the most confident team. This is the most confident they've been all year. You know, they could have folded when they lost the game to Houston on the Hail Mary, and they followed that up with the fourth quarter blown lead against Oklahoma State, and it could have got really out of control for West Virginia, but they didn't. They didn't panic. They stayed calm. They found a way to get a win on the road, and they bounced back, or they come back home to face BYU and get a dominating win. And now they believe they're as much as a part of this Big 12 race as anybody, and they are. So they are legitimately 1 game away, in my opinion, because Cincinnati is probably worse off than BYU in terms of their depth. I honestly thought BYU would score some more points in this game and give them a little bit more of a fight. But look, Cincinnati's in a tough spot. They've got some depth issues. They got quarterback problems. They're just fighting to get to the end of the season at this point. In Baylor, I I don't know what the hell's going on in Waco. I mean, that team is 1-6 at home. A 1-6 record at home for a team that just won the Big 12 a couple years ago. I have no idea what's going on to that or going on there. I'm going to have to look in deeper to their situation. I haven't watched a ton of Baylor this year. I will probably after this week's game against Oklahoma to kind of get ahead on that final game. But if West Virginia wins this game against Oklahoma next week, I I feel pretty good in saying that they have a more than 55 or so percent chance to finish the season 9-3. Or excuse me, not 55, 75% chance. That's saying something for a team that again was picked 14th in the Big 12 to start the season, and they're gonna have a chance to be there in Dallas playing for the damn title at the end of it all. So it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, and I know a lot of people kind of already feel like this game is a loss for West Virginia, and I understand why, but there's something different about this game. And I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm not saying that they'll play them close. Who knows what will happen? But I think there's a valid point to feeling good going to Norman because of the way they played offensively. That was the biggest issue early on in the season was this offense. If they didn't play like this offensively or since the bye week, really, I don't think you would have any sort of confidence going into this game. But they seemed to figure those things out. The defense didn't play tremendous, but they did play good against BYU. They played well at times at UCF. You feel like there's something starting to brew here and percolate. So we'll see what happens when West Virginia heads out to the Plains to take on the Oklahoma Sooners in what is an elimination game of sorts for the Big 12 title race. So West Virginia 37, BYU 7. I'll be back here in a couple of days with Chris Hall as we break down the keys to the game for the Mountaineers against the Sooners on how West Virginia beats Oklahoma. And then on Thursday, I'll be back here with Eugene as we get into our preview and prediction of the game on the Walkthrough Game Day show presented by Country Roads Air Duct Cleaning. Take me home to comfort. So that'll do it for me here today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. Follow us on X at Mountaineers Now, and I'll be having my Sunday morning thoughts article out here in just a few moments. Or if you're watching this later in the afternoon on Sunday, it's already out. Go to the website at Mountaineers Now and check it out. Talking about meaningful football in November. It's the first time that's happened in a long time. So we'll talk about it all week long. We'll have you covered all the way up into the Oklahoma game and after. So we appreciate you guys for tuning in to another week of game coverage here on Mountaineers Now. We hope you join us for Oklahoma week. So thank you guys for watching. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you here in a couple of days. Take care.